Hey, hey, hey. Time for another Out of This World story from rSpace. Trying to live your life sounds empowering until it lands you in a mess of your own making. Today on rSpace, people really will treat a perfectly good life like a scratch ticket, scratching to see if something shinier exists. Wife cheated because her sister told her she could do better. I left her and made sure they both regretted it. I'm 28 male. My wife, Lauren, is 27 female. We got married 2 years ago, after being engaged for 3 years. We were engaged for a bit longer than I would have liked, but I was working on my master's, and we both agreed it would be better for me to finish it first. That way, we'd be able to focus on having the best wedding possible. I always thought it wasn't a problem for either of us, and believe me, I asked. We agonized over the wedding date for almost a month before we finally came to a decision. Even after we said it, I asked Lauren multiple times if she was okay waiting so long to get married. Every time, she would tell me that she was fine with it, and I had no reason not to believe her. She'd even remind me that it was a decision that we came up with together, which was true. Everything seemed perfect after we got married. We settled into a comfortable life. We both landed some good jobs and started saving up to have our first kid. We spent a lot of time together, and Lauren was a dream to live with. I couldn't ask for anything more, and then Bridget entered the picture. Bridget is Lauren's older sister by about 2 years. I never had any issues with her before Lauren and I got married. We weren't best friends or anything, but we got along pretty well. Lauren's relationship with her was pretty good too. They fought once in a while, like sisters do, but generally they had each other's backs. But about a year into our marriage, she changed. Her relationship with her sister started to change. She did her best to one-up Lauren at every opportunity she got. Lauren thought it was just sibling rivalry. I thought the same things at first, until it started escalating. It was like she started competing with Lauren over every little thing, like whose hair looked better, or how'd she just bought a new car. The situation with her sister made me uncomfortable, and I brought up my concern to Lauren several times. She would laugh it off or say that was just how Bridget was. She always told me not to let her get to me, but the truth was she was getting to Lauren more than either of us suspected. Bridget started making comments that went too far. She would casually ask if we thought we'd gotten married too early, and she'd ask Lauren if she ever regretted our not exploring a bit before settling down. It was an obvious dig at me, and I wasn't going to stand for the disrespect. I told Lauren that her sister wasn't welcome in our home anymore if she couldn't learn to watch what she said. She said she understood and that she'd talk to her sister. I don't know if she really did have a conversation with her because her sister simply stopped coming around. That didn't feel like a real solution to me, but I didn't care much either. There was a time when Bridget and I got along pretty well, but she changed, and I wasn't going to welcome that sort of disregard from me in my house. For a while, things went back to normal. Lauren didn't seem bothered by her sister's absence, and I certainly didn't miss the snide comments. I thought our Bridget problem had resolved itself, but then the late nights started. It was just once or twice a week, and she would always let me know ahead of time that she would be coming home late. She always had a reasonable sounding excuse, but I still didn't feel right about it. There was a shift in her attitude that made me suspect that there could be something more to it. She wasn't as affectionate anymore, and she didn't seem as open before. Whenever I asked her about her day, I would be lucky to get anything more than a dismissive answer. Sometimes she wouldn't make eye contact with me. I tried not to jump to conclusions, but I couldn't ignore the feeling in my gut. One night, she told me she had to stay after work, and I snapped. I didn't do anything rash, but I couldn't sit around at home waiting for her to come back. I drove down to her office to see if she was actually there. Her car wasn't in the parking lot. I called her phone, but she didn't pick up right away. I called 3 times before she finally answered. She apologized and said she was busy, but she was wrapping up with work, and she'd be home soon. That confirmed that she was lying to me. I drove home. When she walked in the door that night, I was on the couch waiting for her. I asked her flat out where she had been. I told her that I knew she hadn't gone to work, but I didn't tell her how I knew. She seemed to pick up that I wasn't just guessing, and she raffled off some lame excuse about grabbing food with her coworkers. I knew she was lying to me, but I didn't press it. I didn't want to have the argument without proof, but she didn't give me a choice. She told me that we needed to talk about something. She sat beside me and I expected her to spin off some other lame excuse. Instead, she said she thought she didn't want to be married anymore. I felt like she slapped me in the face. I'd been suspecting something was going on, but I wasn't expecting her to just come out and hit me with this. All I could do was ask her why. She told me that she'd still been talking with Bridget, and Bridget had told her that she could do better. At first, she didn't take her seriously, but when she started to think about it, she realized her sister was right. She felt like she deserved a better life than the one we were living right now. That pissed me off. We both worked a lot, but I worked my butt off to provide most of what we had. The bills and rent were always paid, and there was always food in the fridge. We each had our own car, and we went on nice vacations whenever we could. We lived a good life that I was mostly responsible for, and somehow she felt like she deserved more? According to her, it was just about providing. Bridget told her I didn't really want to be with her because I'd taken too long to get married to her. It was a sign that I wasn't fully committed. I was baffled. I reminded her that the two of us had agreed to wait until I was done with my master's, but she didn't seem to care. She said she didn't know better at the time, but her sister had opened her eyes to how that was a red flag. She said lots of people get married while they were studying, and we could have done the same. I felt like I was going crazy. She was acting like that was a decision I had imposed on her, rather than one we'd spent weeks deliberating on. But it didn't stop her there. There was another man. She told me that's where she had been that night. Bridget had made her promise to go on one date with him, just so she could find out what she was missing. She said she'd only done it to humor her sister at first, and because she thought it would make for a funny story. But she felt right when she was with him, and one date turned into several. Before she knew it, the two of them were seeing each other regularly. I didn't ask if they slept together. I could guess the answer to that on my own. She said I was a good husband and that I hadn't done anything wrong, but she felt trapped in our marriage. She wanted more and she owed it to herself to go after it, and that's what she wanted to do. I sat there mostly speechless. What could I say to all of that? I was shocked that she could admit all of this so casually. I asked her if she was saying she wanted a divorce, and she nodded. I didn't fight her on that. I wanted one too. I mean, apart from the infidelity, she just told me that she thought I wasn't worth her time. I was the consolation prize she'd been putting up with until something better came along. I just nodded and said, okay. She looked offended that I wasn't reacting more dramatically. She said, is that all you have to say? Okay? That really was all I had to say to her. I was angry and sad, but only a bit. I mostly felt numb. The whole thing was such a shock that I still hadn't fully processed it yet. So an okay was the best she was going to get from me. And frankly, it was more than she deserved. I just told her that I didn't want to drag it out. We both wanted out, so it was best to just end it. She started crying, saying she didn't want to hurt me, but I ignored her. I knew her better than anyone, and I could tell that she was relieved. I was hurt and betrayed, but I wasn't going to beg her. I just said that I understood it was late, so she could leave the next day. She blinked at me like I was speaking Russian. I asked her if she seriously thought she would still live in our home after this, or if she expected me to move out for her. She opened and closed her mouth for a while and then said she wasn't ready to leave. I said that was too bad. If she wanted to leave me, she would have to leave my house too. That was the point she wasn't ready to give up on, and we argued about that for a while. She tried everything, from pleading to calling me petty. I didn't change my mind. I suggested she move in with the guy she was sleeping with. I didn't actually care where she ended up. I just knew I needed her out of the house, and I was getting tired of this conversation. I noticed that she dodged the idea of moving in with her affair partner, so I asked her if he was married too. Her silence was a good enough answer for me. I shook my head in disgust and told her I was going to bed. She could spend the night in the living room, but I expected her to be gone the next day, and I didn't care where she went. She was gone when I came out in the morning. She left a note saying she would be back for the rest of her things in the evening. That was fine with me as long as she was moving out. I spent the day calling friends and trying to get a referral for a good divorce lawyer. When I got one, I called him immediately and filed for divorce the same day. I didn't want to waste any time. She came back like she promised, and she tried to talk me into letting her stay again. I didn't budge. She volunteered that she'd be staying with her sister in case I needed to reach her. I reminded her that I had her phone number and no desire to see either her or Bridget. She left after that, and I haven't seen her since. Now I'm alone, waiting for our divorce to start tearing my life apart. I'm devastated, honestly. Being told that you're not good enough is a big enough blow to bruise anyone's ego. I've been trying to distract myself from it with work and by hanging out with friends, but the hurt comes creeping up when I least expect it. Being able to vent here about everything that's happened has helped a little bit, though. I'll just end things off by saying, watch who your spouse is talking to and find out what they're telling them. Even someone as seemingly harmless as their own sibling could be feeding them poison behind your back. She didn't discover herself or realize she deserved more. She decided she didn't want you anymore and wanted someone shinier, and then dressed it up as a moral or personal epiphany. The whole thing screamed selfishness, immaturity, and entitlement. You gave her stability, loyalty, and partnership, and she turned it into a checklist of why you weren't enough for her experiment in fun. Update. I never expected that I'd be back here posting an update. I honestly felt like my first post would be the whole story, and nothing important would happen after. But that was before I decided to stop wallowing, pick myself up, and get back. I just couldn't let Lauren and Bridget treat me like I was nothing without proving them wrong. So I called their parents. Sounds childish, I know, but you've got to hit them where it hurts. Besides, her parents really liked me, and they deserved the whole truth about how things went down, not whatever cover story Lauren would cook up. I video called the two of them, which wasn't unusual. When Lauren and I were together, we'd video call her parents once in a while. They liked talking to me. I asked if they were aware of the divorce, and they told me they were. Their mom said Lauren told me there was some irreconcilable differences that took us apart over time. I was a bit surprised she hadn't tried to make herself the victim. Then I realized that she'd given her parents a nothing reason, hoping that it would be inoffensive enough for me to just accept it and let it be. Fat chance of that. I told them the truth, and I didn't leave out a bit. Lauren had let Bridget talk her into having an affair. That was why she'd left me. And they were living together because Lauren's affair partner was a married man. Her parents were equal parts horrified and furious. Her dad looked like he wanted to cry. He just kept repeating that he thought he'd raised him better than that. I felt bad for him. I liked him, and finding out what type of women his daughters really were must have been a real blow. But I knew they deserved the truth too. They both suspected that the problem was exactly what a lot of people commented on my first post, that Bridget was jealous and bitter because she was single. I don't think I mentioned that in my first post because I didn't think it was important at the time. But yeah, Bridget hasn't had much luck with relationships, and after seeing what she was really like, it wasn't hard to imagine why. I'd been suspecting the same thing for a while, and hearing it for so many people made me think that it had to be true. It was insane to me that someone could be so bitter about their own love life that they decided to sabotage their sisters. Her mom promised me that they would talk to both of them. I thanked her, but I let her know that there was no chance of us getting back together. The trust was gone, and so was the love. She said I should give her a chance to talk to her first. I told her to go ahead, but I knew it was hopeless. It didn't matter whether Lauren magically had a change of heart. I was done with her for good. Her parents kept in touch with me and told me that Lauren hadn't apologized or even made any excuses. She just doubled down. She claimed that it was her life and she was free to live it however she wanted. Bridget claimed that she'd saved her sister from a boring marriage and a life of regret. But the best part came when I hired a PI for the divorce. I wanted proof of the affair, and apart from crisp photos of the two of them, he was able to give me a name. Her affair partner wasn't just married, he had a kid too. That was despicable. But at this point, nothing could surprise me about her. There was nothing particularly interesting about the guy she was sleeping with. He worked for his dad's semi-successful company. I suppose that was enough for a step up for Lauren. I didn't care about him though. I was more interested in getting in touch with his wife. I found her on Facebook and DM'd her the photos my PI had provided me with. I'll spare you my conversation with her. She didn't take it well at first. Eventually she believed me though, and the fallout was exactly what I expected. She threatened to divorce her husband and he broke things off with Lauren to try and patch things up with her. I only found out because Bridget told me. She had a lot of names for me when she called, but the short version of it all is that she said I was childish and effeminate for getting back at Lauren. If I wasn't so insecure, I wouldn't have gotten in the way of her happiness. I didn't let myself get worked up. I just told her that she was in no position to tell me how I was allowed to react to anything. She told me that Lauren had been crying nonstop. She wasn't lying. I could hear her crying in the background. Based on how clearly I could hear her, and the slight echo of my own voice, I figured Bridget had me on speaker so her sister could hear her chew me out. Too bad I wasn't going to make it easy for her. Their relationship with their mom was strained, and their dad wasn't talking to them at all. And now Lauren was single, and she'd lost the man that she wanted to be with. I just laughed and reminded Bridget that it was all her fault. Her sister ended up where she was by following her brilliant advice. Then I loudly asked her if she'd gotten what she wanted all along. She ended the call as soon as I said that, but I hoped Lauren had caught that. It would give them something to talk about. The divorce is in process, but it feels like it's already going my way. The asset split has been equal so far, which feels like more than she deserves. After her relationship with her affair partner blew up, she went from not wanting any alimony to wanting as much as she could get. My lawyer shot that right down. She had employment of her own, and the marriage hadn't lasted long before she bailed. The judge agreed that she wasn't entitled to alimony. She was sour about that. Honestly, I feel free already. I'll provide another update if anything comes up, but I feel like my troubles with Lauren are already behind me. She and her sister thought I was some pushover that they could take advantage of. I didn't feel bad about getting back at them. If anything, I just felt like I'd taken justice into my own hands. Calling her parents was a brilliant move, letting them see the real side of their daughters instead of whatever innocent victim story Lauren was spinning, and the fact that her affair partner was married with a kid? Absolute icing on the cake. Have you ever seen someone chase excitement or freedom only to have it blow up in their face? And did they ever realize the cost? Let us know below. And thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.